Hello again, fellow Mystery Files. Today I have a bonus episode reviewing a rather obscure mini series of Christie adaptations called Miss Marple'i Lood. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. That's the only Estonian I'm going to speak in this episode. It translates roughly to Miss Marple's Tales. This was an Estonian language adaptation of a few short stories, four of which were originally Miss Marple's and one they inserted her into. And this aired in the 1990s. Is a very uncommon, not well known adaptation here, but I've been trying to expand out into more foreign language adaptations I have not seen before. And this series was available online, but it wasn't until very recently that a very kind person uploaded the videos with subtitles in English so we can watch them now. Previously, and I almost did this, you have to like find a translated script and then read the script along with the video, and would have been a disaster. But anyway, we do have here this rather obscure, very unwell known mini series here that I will be reviewing the 5 episodes for. This is again available online on YouTube with English subtitles, so you should check it out. It won't take you very long to watch. I watched them all in one day. So anyway, before I begin, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date with the channel. And don't forget to join in the Discord if you haven't already. The link is in the description for the video. And let's talk about the series overall. This aired in 1990 in Estonian public broadcasting. By the way, I'm not going to try to pronounce any of these Estonian words. You know me, I can barely get the English out half the time, so Estonian, definitely not. I won't try and butcher the language. And Estonia at this time, not quite yet independent from the Soviet Union. That would happen the following year. And my overall thoughts was this was a decent miniseries. Like, it wasn't particularly great. Like, it's definitely not top tier, but it's not anywhere near close to the worst out there. And these were all passable adaptations. I do give this series some credit. You know, this is a bit of tumultuous time in Estonian history, so I don't want to be like overly critical of the production aspects, but you could tell there was a very meager budget, which I know in the past I've said like one way to improve the quality of these adaptations is to cut the budget so the show can't be behind like big named actors and a flashy set. But I felt the lack of a budget here. I mean, some of the houses and buildings visited didn't have like any furniture in them except for whatever prop was being used, and maybe that isn't so unusual for the time. You know, the series is set in 1990s Estonia, although it is weird because everybody has English names and the village is called St. Mary Mead. But there were also a lot of lighting issues. I mean, there were times you just cannot see what's going on. You cannot make out people because there's no lighting. Any scene taking place in Miss Marble's sitting room had like very obvious lighting fixtures on the wall, and you could see the like even the cords, which I found personally very distracting. I've actually done set designing in the past for small projects like a while ago in college, and that is a big no-no. You shouldn't be able to see the cords. But I thought the darkness was just for the first episode because of the impersonation that happens, but no, this is a problem in all of the episodes. But I still think this is fun to watch. I had never seen the series before, so a big thank you to the person who translated and uploaded the episodes. I posted the first episode in the Discord, so you can search on YouTube for them if you want to. But again, I think this is definitely worth watching, like at least one time. I can't say I'm going to revisit this series all the time, but again, I thought it was worth at least the one watch through. And I want to talk a little bit about Ita Ever, who played Miss Marple. This is actually her second run as Miss Marple. She played our heroine in a 1987 Russian language version of A Pocket Full of Rye, which I have not seen. And I thought Ita Ever was decent. I can't say I was wowed by her performance. To be honest, I got a lot more Dolly Bantry than Jane Marple. You know, she was very glamorous, Ita Ever, and she wore flashy jewelry and dressed just like a lot more fashionably than Miss Marple would. Now, it is set in the 1990s, so maybe that was a factor here. And this reminded me, and this is a bit of an odd reference here, if anyone has watched Wednesday on Netflix, the grandmama character who in most other versions of the Addams Family is like a frumpy elderly witch character, But in Wednesday, she's a glamorous granny. There's a glam up for sure to meet the current times. And I'm probably thinking that because Grandmama in Wednesday is played by Joanna Lumley, Dolly Bantry herself from the ITV Marples. But anyway, I thought Ita Ever did sometimes demonstrate the personality of Miss Marple, in particular the shrewdness. I would say Ita Ever's Miss Marple is like equal parts like Margaret Rutherford Miss Marple, Jessica Fletcher, and like I don't know, a little bit of Dolly Bantry. I think personality wise she was there, but she didn't really have the look or the mannerisms of Miss Marple for me. I mean, there was one episode where she like screamed chaotically that was so out of character, and another episode where she used a computer which was jarring, but it was 1990. But overall, I thought Ita Ever was a fine Miss Marple. Like she's not the worst Miss Marple for sure. The first episode is the Exemplary Maid, which is an adaptation of The Case of the Perfect Maid. And I sort of had mixed feelings on this one. It was pretty faithful to the original, and most of these are pretty faithful. And I thought it started out great, but then I made note of the time, and it was more than halfway through the episode, and we really hadn't gotten into the mystery aspect of it all. And what happened was the ending was very rushed. Miss Marple goes to Inspector Slack and tells him what she thinks happened, and that's that. And we really don't see a lot of the events unfolding with the sisters. It's just like the new mate shows up, and then we see Miss Marple watch a news report on the television about thefts, and she just goes to the police with the solution. Like, there's a lot more that could have been done there. It just lacked a lot of intrigue, I thought. I think that all could have been in there if the setup didn't go on for so long. And it wasn't as if they were doing like a lot of character introductions to eat away that time. That is something we see in premiere episodes, but that wasn't really what was going on here. And I just wanted more from it, but I do think it was interesting. I mean, they do actually do a pretty good job with the impersonation here. They actually do play very fair with it, so I was impressed with that. And again, the setup was good and all, but it was just too long, and I felt like we missed a lot of the more interesting aspects of this. Like, we didn't even see like other people in the building or anything. But and I like the actor playing Inspector Slack as well. His name is Tumas Lamost. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. But overall, I thought this was a fine episode. Again, I wanted more from it. I expected more from it, but again, it wasn't like terrible. The second episode is The Four Suspects, which is an adaptation of that short story. And this is the only screen adaptation of The Four Suspects that exists, to my knowledge. And, this one did keep the framing device of the Tuesday nightclub with Sir Henry Clithering telling the story. Unfortunately, I found this very tedious, as most of the episode is just Sir Henry talking. We get very few scenes with the actual four suspects playing out, and this made the episode just very uninteresting, in my opinion. This is a framing device that works in the text, but not on screen, and is probably why, on the rare occasions we do get screen adaptations from the Tuesday Nightclub collection, they just put Miss Marple in the action. But I will praise the faithfulness of the story. I mean, obviously, the letter has been changed because it contains word clues that only work in English and not in Estonian. But other than that, a lot of it is very faithful. Again, it left me wanting more content. It felt like a very slight once again. The third episode is called The Lady's Maid and the Maid, which is an adaptation of Tape Measure Murder. And I thought this was much better than the previous two episodes. This felt like a full story here. Again, I wish there was more going on with the whole like seamstress thing, but this felt like the whole story was there and not sped through. The episode was a few minutes longer than the others, so maybe that was a factor, but very bizarrely, and I guess this was probably for budget reasons, the actor playing Colonel Melchett here is the same actor who played Sir Henry Clithering in the previous episode, and the actress who played Miss Hartnell in this episode played Dolly Bantry in the other episode. It's very noticeable and slightly confusing, especially since the next episode they're back to playing Sir Henry and Dolly Bantry. But overall, I thought this was a solid episode for the series. Again, there wasn't really like a lot of issues from the first two present here. The fourth episode is Treasure Hunt, or Strange Jest, as we call it in English. And I thought this was the best episode of the series. It was very faithful to the original, and we actually saw Miss Marple and the couple searching for the treasure and trying to figure out all the clues and hints the uncle left behind. I do think this episode suffered from a lack of production value. Like all the others, it was very dark at times, and you couldn't see much, and there was just absolutely no furniture in the house except for what was absolutely necessary. And there are word clues that had to be changed that I thought still worked very well. But I did feel as if we got the full plot. We didn't rush the ending. So this was the best episode of the series, in my opinion. And the final episode is Accident, an adaptation of that short story. This was not originally a Miss Marple, but a standalone, but they replaced the Captain Haydock character with Miss Marple, and I thought this worked well. I was a bit surprised how seamlessly Miss Marple fit into this story, and this is the only adaptation of Accident outside of the stage play Tea for Three. And I like the last two episodes. I did think this one contained the full story. It was fleshed out. The ending was a bit rushed, but they all kind of are in the series. But this episode is the one where Miss Marple used the computer, which reminded me so much of that episode of Murder She Wrote where Jessica bought a computer. It's just like so wrong and unnatural. But this was pretty faithful to the story. I thought overall a pretty well done job for this episode. And that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this series. Again, if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure many of you have not, again, it is readily available on YouTube. You should check it out. Again, it won't take you very long. Again, I thought it was fine. Again, I'm not sure how many times I'm going to watch this mini series again, but again, definitely worth watching once. I think anything is worth watching once, unless it's Haunting in Venice. You should never watch that. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to join the Discord server if you haven't already. Until next time, Mystery Files.